And we are live. Nice, just gotta get a couple things set up and we will get going in just a moment. So tonight we got a fantastic Friday tournament hosted by Subutai, and we got the semifinals between Scrambled Egg Special and Housecat of War. But real quick, I'm just going to start posting going live notifications. Alright, going live notification sent there. Do. Where's the Discord channel I'm looking for? There we go. Alright, notifications are sent. Stream is set up and good to go. I think we're all set. So, semifinal map is Proving Ground. Pick system is the pick 3 ban 2 that I believe Subutai has been quite fond of lately. So both players pick 3 factions that they're inclined to play. Then after those are revealed, both players ban 2 of their opponent's factions. Whichever one is left up, both of them play, and that's how you get your final matchup. The finals will be a best of 3, but for the semis it is still best of 1. So this is for all the marbles. So we got Housecat of War, who is a veteran RTK player who's doing quite well for himself lately. Typically plays things like, Tomb Kings, Lizardmen, that kind of stuff. And then Scrambled Egg Special, who I believe is a Warhammer 2 vet who's just going back into Domination. And he favors the more aggressive Beastmen, Greenskin styles, that kind of thing. So it looks like they are making builds. So it looks like this is the matchup we have, Beastmen Ogre Kingdoms, which I believe is a matchup that Scrambled Egg Special has been having a lot of success in lately. He's a very, very strong Beastman player from what I've seen. Very good at using his mobility to his advantage. Not really super reliant on the Minotaurs like a lot of Beastman players have been favoring a lot lately. He goes for more infantry, raiders, and mobilities. That kind of core. Your archers, your piggies, the razor gores, and the centigores. Which is very, very atypical for Beastmen. A lot of Beastman play these days is centered around Minotaurs and enabling them. So it's very interesting to see this differentiating style going up against a more standard style from Housecat and his Ogre Kingdoms. I suspect this map of the Proving Grounds will prove a little helpful for the Beastman style. It has a lot of very safe positions for the archers, but it is fairly narrow, so the mobility will have a little bit of difficulty getting into position early on. Once the battle opens up a little more, though, there's plenty of room for mobility. And of course, all the trees in this map are very, very helpful for the Beastmen. For Ogres on the other side, they probably want to avoid the trees as much as possible, seeing as they don't have woodsmen, so they are heavily penalized for being in the woods, being large units. Hey, Sergeant Mache, welcome to the stream. Yeah, this is semis. I forgot to pop out chat, so I need to have that there where I can see you folks. So yeah, Ogres are going to want to avoid the trees and try to fight out in the open. Curious to see if he goes, what kind of Ogre style he goes for. Because like right now there's like 3 primary Ogre styles. It just started for Mass Bulls is the one, just Mass Bulls and just run at them. You can go for Heavy Kite with Lead Belchers or Artillery pieces. And then there's Heavy Cav with the Mournfang Cav. Not as popular, but you do still see it sometimes. And I'm curious to see which of those styles Housecat will opt into against the Beastmen. They all have their merits. Lead Belchers do very, very well into those Ungor Raiders if they can get targets on them, which are a big threat to all the lightly armored ogres. The Bull Rush isn't as vulnerable. Like, Lead Belchers are hard to protect against all the Beastman mobility, so the Bull Rush could be appealing for that reason. And the Ogre Cav, I assume, just dominates most Beastman mobility pieces, but it's a pretty heavy investment, and you're kind of sacrificing your front line. When does match start? Well, they just readied up, so as soon as we're done loading in. So I'll get this blocker out of your way, and we can see what our players have in store for us. I must say, I respect the pink Ogre banner and the pink Firebelly mask. I quite like it. Oh. Please don't crash on me. I did the bad thing. I clicked out. Okay, I alt-tabbed during a loading screen, and that's when Warhammer likes to crash on me. Now I always feel really, really bad when I crash while I'm casting, because I don't want to make the players restart. Alrighty, so it looks like we do have, like I said, that scrambled egg style where he likes that infantry core with the raiders. And then Housecat seems to have opted for a pretty heavy Gnoblar build with just some bulls and greases. Interesting. That's a lot of Gnoblars to start with. Here's see what he'll be summoning in to actually reinforce that. Oh, I have a DM. Is that something I need right now? No, it's not. Not the players, not the turn admin. Don't care right this second. Neato. So yeah, for Scrambled Egg Specials Beastmen, we have... what do we have? We have Morgur, the Shadowgave, with his Chaos Spawn summon, both of them. We have a Beratium of the Wild with Traderkin. We have all 5 Ungor Raiders. We have a front line of Goreherds with shields. Not a terribly popular unit, but I've seen Scrambled Eggs actually doing pretty good things with them as of late. And then I assume we have, yeah, a bunch of Ungor Spears, which, I mean, not surprising to see Spears against the Ogres. So, curious about Morgur's one summon, the one that triggers on low health. I guess this effect, it only affects enemies, which means I feel like he's got a hard time getting use out of that because the Ogre's leadership is so bad. They're going to run away long before they get low enough for this to proc, I suspect, but we'll have to keep an eye on that and see. On the far side, we do have that massive Gnoblar frontline, all 5 basic Gnoblars for Housecat, as well as triple Gnoblar Trapper, it looks like. And we have Greasy Boy here to lead the troops with ITP Aura, Damage Resist, Horde Master for the extra leadership. Just a lot of buffs for that real heavy frontline. Probably looking to beat on some Minos, even though there aren't any Minos there for him to beat on, unfortunately for him. And then a Firebelly with Burning Head just to roast those archers. Ogre Bulls, as far as I can see, and yeah, just the Trapper. And I think I saw a single Man-Eater Grey open. Again, worried about that Minos, again, about the cavalry, that kind of thing. So it looks like Housecat is very well prepared for what his opponent has brought to the table. Let's see how it goes. Typically, when you're running a build with as much missile presence as the Beastmen have, you're going to want to set up in this sort of a position. Kind of form a concave around that center, and then bait your opponent to cross the center into your firing line. Beastmen have enough mobility control, they should be able to just control this either side of the map they want. So they'll probably, opt to just shut off this passageway and then force the Ogres to cross that center threshold into their concave fire setup like here. Like, that's what the Beastmen want to be doing. And we'll be looking for the Ogres to actually, read that play and counteract it. One of our players is ready up, so we should be getting going here in just a moment. Let's see how this goes. So yeah, Greasus is going to be a little bit starved for targets here. I mean, he can probably beat the crap out of Morgur, but Morgur, I assume, is quite a bit faster than 39 to 35. Actually, yeah, Morgur needs to be a little bit careful. Greasus is anti-large, but his stat line is just so much better than Morgur's. He'll beat the snot out of him any day of the week. So needs to be a little careful of that. Probably something that the Beastman player didn't really anticipate. Not a very common pick, Greasus, or any really strong duelist lord. Usually you just see the Slaughtermaster, just the caster lord for Ogres. So might be a little bit caught out there. Though he should be able to still find somewhere to get his summons off. He is a fairly tanky lord, so he should be able to just run away and be just fine. Sneaky Trappers coming at the side. Trappers are, of course, an amazing unit. Great answer to all this lightly armed Beastman infantry. They are shielded, but only bronze shields, so they can still do pretty good work. And of course, in melee, they are anti-infantry for some godforsaken reason, so they will do quite well there as well. So we got some more Goreherds coming in. Really big fan of these Goreherds. Not sure why. Again, not a unit you see terribly often. Not a lot of Beastman players really favor the infantry heavy style. Their infantry is not considered to be the greatest for the price. So very surprised to see. Okay, we do have a Leadbelcher coming in. Seems to be wise. Obviously, you can see all the Gore herds, and they are excellent targets for the Leadbelchers. Leadbelchers love cleaving through infantry, and there is plenty of it to go around. Now, most of these spears and the archers are all stocked, so there'll be these Gore herds up on the menu, and the spread formation should help them out quite a bit at dodging a lot of that fire, but they'll still rack up plenty of kills given enough time. And yeah, just like I said, here's that concave. Archer concave, and now the Beastmen, their real trick is to bait the ogres across the threshold, and that's where the Leadbelcher comes in. As long as the ogres are outranging the Beastmen are actually going to be the ones to advance, so they're going to lose that really powerful position they have on the map here, and be forced into the aggressive stance. So, very, very clever use of the Leadbelcher here from Housecat. Clearly very prepared for this map, and yeah. Leadbelcher's just firing in on the Ungor Spears. They're trying to cap the objective. Ungor Spears are expendable, as are the Gnoblar Trappers, so it's really Morgur who's doing most of the capping here. So these Spears need to run. They're taking a lot of fire from all those Trappers, as well as those Leadbelchers. Not a lot of value for the Ogres, but still forcing them off the objective means that the Ogres should be able to cap, although Morgur does pose a little bit of an impediment to that plan. You're going to need to be something coming up on this objective to actually swing it in the Ogre's favor. Although, Morgur's in melee, and there is a bug where a lot of single-entity characters, if they're in melee, they often lose their capture rate, and that looks like to be what is happening here for Morgur. Although, actually, yeah, Morgur's not applying his capture rate, which is a big problem. I'm not sure if Scrambled Eggs is aware of that. Clearly he knows that he's not capping the point, so he's moving up, and he's really reluctant to move forward. This is a very strong position he has, and if he can hold it, again, if he can force the ogres into him, it's a very strong position, but that Leadbelcher is just such a thorn in his side, just racking up, already at 67 kills, 72 kills after that volley. Let me see the freaking value. Only 230 value, because Beastman infantry isn't very expensive, but still, Morgur's just grinding away. I would love to see Greasus come up here, honestly. Greasus pop out of the tree, start beating Morgur. Like, you kind of know where the archers are. They're not pressuring your Gnoblars, so Greasus, you have a pretty good idea that Greasus will be pretty safe. So I wouldn't mind seeing him just come and force Morgur off and get the cap as well. It looks like to be what's happening. Morgur and those Maneaters are coming out. Maneaters are a little squishier. I wouldn't necessarily want to bring them out without knowing where all the archers are, but it should be fine. And yeah, like I was saying, one side is completely controlled by the ogres. Beastmen are just, there's a token contest, but not really. And the same on the other side. Trappers just firing in, getting some value, but no real threat to that far side flank on either side. It's all about this here battle in the middle, which is just a lot of fire exchange. Nobody really wants to be getting into melee first, which is kind of interesting, because these are two factions that typically do like to get, down and dirty, especially the Beastmen. Having them have this prolonged skirmish phase is kind of surprising. And yeah, Morgur's got to run. Big Daddy Greasus will give him the business if he gets close. On the far side, these Centaurs are chasing down these Trappers, and honestly, I'm not convinced Centaurs beat Trappers. I haven't tested this, but I suspect Trappers can actually give them a pretty good run for their money, especially when you got some Saber Tusks and some dual weapons coming to support, and that's actually a pretty big threat to this Beastman flank. The dual weapons will mulch all these Ungors, and the Saber Tusk will tear apart those Centaurs, so that will require some sort of Beastman attention on that flank. Burning Head comes down, roasts one archer, and does it get the curve into another unit? Not quite. Gets a little bit of damage on the piggies, but let's just roast the one archer, which is exactly what you bring it for as the ogre player, so not surprising there. Greasus is backing off, doesn't want to be getting shot, and Morgur is chasing for some reason? Morgur? I don't think you want this fight, my friend. I know he's running away, but he's still a big boy. And he does have healing available eventually. Sabertusk actually getting in the back, ignoring the Centaurs, and just going straight for the Ungor Raiders. They are the big money piece, like the big breadwinner for the Beastmen here, so I really like this target prioritization. There should be some spears coming to clean them off, as well as the Razor Gores, but the damage has been done. The Ungor Raiders are disrupted. They are half health. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised the ogres aren't just rushing in. I guess there's that element of a lot of these Beastmen units are stocked, so you don't know where they are, but it seems like the Beastman center has been kind of overrun. Morgur is getting beat on by Greasus, which is a dangerous place for him to be, as well as many great weapons. And on the flank, nothing's really happened. Beastmen aren't really making a play, which is kind of surprising. I feel like this Blackhorn's Ravager is like 750, and has pretty good stats. It'll run right through these Gnoblars and can take this objective, but instead it is remaining idle, as the ogres are starting to threaten that 3 cap. On this far flank, it looks like a bit of a flash in the pan. I don't think Ogre's going to be able to hold this objective, although with the more bulls coming in, they could pose quite a big threat to it. And the Beastman center is collapsing. The dual weapons coming in and just starting to shred these Gore herds. And yeah, like I said, Gore herds, their melee stats are really underwhelming for the price. Like 550 for the shielded and 600 for the non-shielded. And their stats just don't reflect that. They're really, really overcosted. So I'm not surprised to see them just getting absolutely dominated by these Ogre Bulls. But the Razorgores are coming into countercharge, and they will do quite well in these Ogre Bulls. They hit very, very hard on the charge. 52 armor-piercing weapon strength, as well as a hefty charge bonus of 46. They will absolutely tear apart these Ogre Bulls real quickly. Although they don't want to stay here very long. Their melee sets are crap. They're really relying on their charge bonus. We have some Nobblar traps coming down, getting some damage done. These guys have spent all their ammo, so now they moved into melee. Because they're, they're basically the same as the other melee unit, just with a bit of bonus to his infantry thrown in for some reason. Greasus is just still spanking Morgar around. Morgar has regen, so he's pretty tanky, but with the Fire Belly coming to provide some fire damage, Morgar is in a lot of danger here. He's tanky, but he will go down eventually to these two big characters. Needs to be a little bit careful there. The value lead is pretty heavily in the favor of the Ogres, which is concerning as there is no healing or any mitigating factor available for the Beastmen, whereas there is quite a bit of healing available for Ogres through the army ability, even though they didn't bring the Troll Guts. Farside objective is looking pretty heavily in control of the Ogres for the moment, though they have no further reinforcements. It's just these couple of units kind of hanging on against these Gore Herds. And there's the backup attempt from the Beastmen. That's what I was talking about. They are outcapping the Nobblar. This is not an expendable unit, it's full cap weight, so even though there's only one model halfway on the objective, they are actually capturing, which is very unfortunate for the Ogres, and might be what the Beastmen need to actually hang in this game, as being 3-capped really sucks when you're down in value. Lead Belchers are still firing up to 327 kills, just tearing apart all this Beastman infantry. Yeah, Housecat seems like he knew exactly what his opponent was going to be bringing and had exactly what he needed to deal with it. Oh my gosh, are those cannons actually pink? It's actually pink on the cannons. That's amazing. I might have to start using that Ogre banner. That's beautiful. Anyway, blob fight's going on over here. The Centaurs are being sent to the hills. Cavalry have traditionally traded very poorly into Malchus infantry, so not very surprised to see them running for the hills there, especially with the Trapper support. This is looking pretty dominant for the Ogres. Not sure where Morgar got to, but yeah. Looks like Scrambled Egg Special agrees with me. Not a lot of hope left for the Beastmen. Morgar must have died and not given me a notification, because he doesn't seem to be anywhere. Yeah. He shattered at least. So, Greasus and the Fire Belly just laying the pounding on him. Many Great Weapons didn't really have any targets to fight, so not surprised to see them undervalued, but Nobblar Trappers doing what they do best, as well as the Ogre Bulls. Yeah. Like I said, it seems like Housecat had a pretty strong game plan. He kind of knew what to expect, and came in and just gave the Beastmen the business. Freaking value caster got a little bit of value, but yeah, Morgar is no match for Greasus, and when there's Greasus there, he kind of has to just, skirt the edges of the fight and really find somewhere to get value, which is quite a bit harder when, you have something to actually avoid. Normally you just want to send him in and be disruptive. Can't really do that when Greasus is about, and the Raiders getting shut down in the Burning Head and the Lead Belchers and the Saber Tusks. Just beautiful disruption play from Housecat. Razorgores, they did okay. But yeah, this Beastman Infantry Corps. Yeah, Beastman Infantry is just kind of tragic. Like, Gore Herds just, they don't perform for their price. They really don't. It's one of the things that holds Beastman back, so. But I have seen Scramble getting pretty good success with this kind of style into Ogres lately, so that's probably why Housecat, knew what to expect. Anyway, semis are a best of one, so that's all we got there. I will see if the other semi has started. If it's already started, we won't be able to get any, spectating on it, but if it's not started yet, we'll see if we can get in there real quick. Okay, it looks like the semi is complete as well, so we will get those finals going in just a moment. Best of one? Yeah, semis were best of one, finals will be best of three. Hey Borkos, welcome to the stream. So I don't know who won on the other side, so I'm just going to hope that Housecat invites whoever won to this lobby so I don't have to go anywhere. Wouldn't that be nice? So for the finals, the pick system is a little bit different since it's the best of three. Is this gonna... There we go. Pick system is a pick 3 ban 1, kind of a classic Warhammer 3 competitive format where the first player just picks 3 factions they want to play, bans one of their opponents, and then their opponent gets to pick what they want to play and ban out one of the other 3. So, and the maps we have are Lost Temple of Sotek, Celestial Lake, and Borderlow Landing. And it looks like we have Kark versus Housecat. So, getting that going here in just a moment. So Lost Temple of Sotek is a map that is fairly tight, which can lead to a lot of more melee-oriented builds, specifically more like frontline grindy. There's not a lot of space for cavalry, and there's a lot of tree cover, so missiles aren't as effective. So it's a lot of like frontline, monster mash kind of map, which could be quite exciting. Kark is known for his vampire counts, so I wouldn't be that surprised to see that kind of thing on this map. He's really known for a lot of those like super aggressive, vampire counts, Khorne, Wars Chaos, those really, aggressive, get in your face, grindy kind of factions. Whereas Housecat does play a lot of the more, skirmish heavy missile factions. So you see the kind of matchup of styles. And then, so that's Temple of Sotek is very like monster mashy, grindy in the front. Celestial Lake is a little more open, more prone to mobility and a little bit of shooting. There is quite a bit of cover to avoid any kind of long-range artillery, so it's more about a lot of the mobility game, as well as, a healthy space for infantry as well. And I've already forgotten what that third map was. What was that third map? Borderlow Landing. Yep, nice big mixed map. Plenty of space to set up a proper gun line for like Githea Dwarves, as well as plenty of space to use any kind of cavalry or other mobility tools. So it's a pretty versatile map, so we will get a nice wide range of styles there. So we'll be just a moment while our players are doing their picks and bans. So great time if you guys have any questions about the tournament, about the format, about multiplayer, feel free to ask away. Other than that, So I know Kark's, like I said, he's playing a lot of vampire counts lately. Plays some Coast, and then a lot of those, like I said, fast aggressive factions. So that's kind of what I'm looking to see out of him. And then Housecat, like I said, he plays a lot of lizards, a lot of Tomb Kings. He's been playing a lot of ogres, that kind of stuff. So again, curious to see if he has any kind of countermeasure on this map to that kind of melee grindy style, or if he is just going to opt in to try and match that that frontline prowess of those more grindy factions. I need to get the scores back up. Scores. Housecat's name is too big to be on the banner with a score, so we shrink it. It is 0-0. This is a best of 3, so we have potential for either 2 or 3 game series. Looks like Kark is on Wood Elves? Interesting. So, like I said, archers, I don't think are great on this map. There's a lot of tree cover. There's a lot of line of sight blocking. And this is not something I typically expect to see from a player like Kark, who traditionally favors those, like I said, they fast, aggressive factions, not these more, flimsy, kitey archer styles. So, really, really surprised to see this coming in from Kark. I wonder what he's got up his sleeve for this matchup. Is Housecat on ogres still? Kark seems making a build, so I'm wondering if it is going to be just ogres versus wood elves. That would be quite the surprise to me. I'm gonna ask Housecat what the picks are. Yeah, it looks like Kark is making a build, so I'm really curious if this is in fact the matchup we got. I did shoot a message to Housecat to ask him to let me know what the matchups are. So hopefully we will find out. Is Housecat adjusting his build? Not yet, which makes me wonder if he is in fact changing things up, or... Okay, so Housecat picked 3 first, and he picked Ogres, Brett, Norsca, Band, Vampire counts. pretty reasonable. Like I said, Kark's a big Vampire Counts player, and they're quite good on this map, so I'm not surprised to see that. And Kark picked Wood Elves and banned Brett. So Housecat got to pick between Ogres and Norsca into Wood Elves, and he picked Ogres. So we are getting Ogres, Wood Elves. Okay, so from Wood Elves, what do I expect? Well, Ogres are lightly armored, so a lot of the Wood Elf shooting can be very, very effective. You have to be very scared of those Lead Belchers. I think Lead Belchers outrange all the Wood Elf shooting. So you either have to use either stalk to try and avoid getting in the line of sight, or you have to, play cover or something. You have some way to mitigate the value of the Lead Belchers. Otherwise, they're a huge problem because all those Wood Elf archers are very, very squishy, as is their front line. They have some fairly cost-effective spears in melee, but they're all very, very squishy, which means charges from ogres or any of the shooting or burning head are all huge threat to the Wood Elf front line. This seems just really, really tough to play from the Wood Elf side. You have, reasonable cheap spears. You have archers that'll do well if they're allowed to shoot. I just think ogres have a lot of tools to actually mitigate those factors. Yeah, what do you bring as elves? The deal, I imagine just one. Maybe Lead Belchers aren't as big of an issue on this map because there's a lot of tree cover, like I said. But I don't know. I feel like Wood Elves have to rely on archers on this map, or just archers in this matchup. And on this map, that sounds just hard to do. Like I said, there's a lot of tree cover. I don't know how well you can see it here, but there is a good smattering of trees all over the center. There's some impassable terrain. There's only a handful of positions, safe positions for archers to be. And I suspect that ogres is going to have a pretty easy time actually overrunning those positions and running down those archers, which means the Wood Elves have to, focus on their melee more. And, their melee is fine. They have Eternal Guard. I guess they bring 2 variants of Eternal Guards. They can bring, 10 cheap spears, and then some of the more elite spears, maybe Azrai, War Dancer spears. Azrai, War Dancer spear variant. You can bring those guys. They're not the greatest unit. They're really squishy, but their stats are good. I just worry that the ogre charges are just going to knock their socks off immediately and just take them down to half HP on the charge, which is just going to hurt a lot when you're paying, upwards of was it 800-900 for those spear units. I guess you could bring Treekin or Zoats to provide you a little bit of mass, give you a little more resistance to those charges, but those are real expensive. Treekin don't do a lot of damage. Zoats do okay, but they're very, very expensive. So, very curious to see what Kark has up his sleeve here. And then for ogres, like I said, Lead Belchers are very, very appealing to me in this matchup. This map might make that a little less so, but honestly, I feel like ogres can just slam 12 bulls, some iron guts, and run at elves and just have a pretty reasonable time. Yeah, I'm really concerned how Wood Elves are gonna fare in this matchup. Now, looks like Kark has his build completed. I have my blocker up, right? Okay, good. The Housecat's, he's got a full build here. He's just, contemplating, pondering, changing some things out. And he's ready. Let's get this show on the road. So yeah, Wood Elves have opted for a pretty heavy archer style, which again, I'm not a huge fan of on this map in particular. Hey Yebchub, welcome to the stream, my friend. We're just getting started in the first match of the finals for tonight. So yeah, Wood Elves, a lot of archers. A lot of archers, which I don't love on this map. A lot of people think you just really can't bring a lot of missile units on this map because there's so much tree cover, and I tend to agree. When we load in, you'll see a little bit better that there's just so much tree cover. I worry that the archers are going to lose half their volley to the trees, which is going to hurt a lot when you're spending that much money on archers. He's got 6 archer units as a starter, jeez. And then the ogres actually wants for something I didn't even consider, which is the double scrap launcher. Yeah, look at all these trees. Look at all these trees. There's so much tree cover here. There's a handful of safe positions. Right here, firing over the objective is fine. And then, over here, firing, I guess, is okay. But, there's not a lot of good spots for archers. Anyway, builds. Wood Elves have a Life Weaver with Earthblood and Regrowth. We have 3 Gladeguard Starfire Shafts, 3 basic Gladeguard, the Enigmas of Gyran, the Arwar Zoats, which have a Bound Regrowth and Flesh to Stone, We have some Eternal Guard, just the basic variant, unshielded, the cheaper one. Don't really need shield. Well, actually, so you don't really need shields against lead belchers like ogre shooting, but Gnoblar trappers will tear them apart without their shields. Again, they don't have a lot of HP. They're wood elves. They're very squishy. For the ogres, we have what do we have back here? We have a Slaughtermaster of Beasts with Transformation of Kadon and Phlox. There's probably something Manticore's going to harass archers, which is reasonable. Flock of Doom doesn't do a lot of damage, but elves don't have a lot of HP, so fair enough. Double Scrap Launcher, really, really nice for harassing those archers since they aren't stocked. If they'd been Deep Woods or Way Watchers, these guys would have a lot harder time, but since they are Glade Guard, without the stock, the Scrap Launchers do really, really well against them. We have a front line of Gnoblars, again, not surprising. Great archer fodder. Gnoblar Trappers, again, not surprising. We have a single Mana Great Weapon. He seems to like that token Mana Great Weapon, the starter. And then a bunch of Shielded Ogre Bulls, which makes sense, given how many archers Wood Elves tend to bring. Looks like Kark is deploying his main force towards this center objective, which makes sense. Like I said, this is kind of the area he wants his archers in, and that only gives them one line of fire onto this objective. And then he's sending his elite anti-large unit to solo cap objective 1, which is a reasonable strategy. Like I said, you really want to play around those archers, and there's only one spot you can do that. So just set up your archers like right here on the edge of the trees, out in the open, and then just try and force the fight to happen entirely on objective 3, so you can get all these lines of fire onto the objective and just get a nice concave. And of course, for the ogres, you really want to avoid that, because that's not a happy position for you to be in. But given their extra speed of being large, they can actually do a pretty good job of forcing the fight over here if they so choose, or even just kind of going for the full envelop. So here's see what approach the ogres will take here. Dryads coming as well, try and force the side objective. I love how Kark just spawns in and right clicks on the enemy. There is no thought of being defensive, just go in, fight immediately. I love it. No waiting on the action. Looks like Scrap Launchers are starting to fire in. Are there shots in the air? I don't see any shots in the air. Come on, anything? You guys? What's your deal? What's your deal? Why aren't you firing? There we go. Yeah, if these things hit, they'll do pretty good damage again. Elves, not very tanky, but Scrap Launchers, not very accurate. So I'm not a huge fan of that unit, but it can do some nice poke damage once these guys actually settle in. Shots going down onto the Gnoblars is probably worth it for the ogre player, to be honest. Like, the ammo is probably worth more than the Gnoblars are. Gnoblars as well, just trying to force the fight on the objective, trying to make sure they don't lose out on the caps early on. Pretty hefty force coming in on the side objective. Like I said, ogres probably want to force the fight over here on the side, so you can kind of wrap around and collapse on that archer position, which is a very, very smart thing to do. Trappers being focus fired and just shredded by all that archer fire. And whereas the bulls are just hanging back. They're just really playing reserved and letting the Gnoblars, die for the glory of the Great Maw all on their own. We're going to get some Flocks of Doom coming in here pretty quick. The Trappers are just kind of being fed to the Wood Elves, which is kind of an odd choice with all the bulls hanging back. There we go. Now the bulls are coming in. Scrap Launchers are starting to do some good damage. Like I said, now that they've stopped moving, they are much, much easier targets. On the far side, we do have ogres moving up. No, ogres just sit here and cap. And looks like we're just going to have that fight in the center like the Wood Elves wanted. Although the further forward the Wood Elves get, the more tree cover they have, and the worse the Archer's line of sight is going to be. But the Gnoblars are all already routing. The Wood Elves have just broken through the Gnoblar front lines. The Ogres have no chaff support to actually help them fight those spears. Kind of scrappy. I don't know. I feel like the Ogres really want to have those Gnoblars. Kind of odd that you sent them in without any support, just to get massacred by the archers. And they didn't spend that much ammo on them. Enigmas of Gyron are charging the Ogre Bulls, and these are a very elite anti-large unit. Looks like they've got Fleshstone Pops, they've got a ton of Fizz Resist. They are going to absolutely massacre these Ogre Bulls. They need the Man-Eaters to come over and fight them. It's really your only recourse against them with this Ogre build. Spears are just pushing forward. I think it's a bit of a mistake. You're getting too far away from your archers. You do have a flank coming in as well. Going to get a nice wraparound onto the back of these archers, completely undefended. Don't know if he knows they're here. Not a lot of fast options. Oh, look, he knows they're here. They got spears in play. Yeah, good. You got to pay attention to that stuff because Wood Elves' mobility isn't that good, so you don't have a lot of time to react to that. You got to be on top of that. So, very, very good there. Gnoblars holding down the fort on objective number 2, but this is looking pretty rough for the Ogres, actually. Wood Elves have broken through in a big way. The Archers are being left behind and in the trees, though, which kind of hurts them, and the Ogres' superior speed in reinforcement, as well as the fact they're fighting close to their own spawns, means that this fight could very, very quickly flip in favor of the Ogres. The flank is coming as well, and the problem is these spears can't actually stop these Ogres from just walking around them, and these Archers are in a really, really dangerous position. The Manticore as well coming in. These box formations are just asking to be Scrap Launcher. You gotta move those, Kark. You gotta straighten those lines out. Okay, he realizes he's being targeted. He fixes it as fast as he can. Dryads coming to attack objective number 3. Gonna need some bulls to help the Gnoblars deal with them. The Gnoblars are going to be absolutely just shredded by this Dryad charge. These very, very angry tree ladies are going to tear apart these poor, unsuspecting Gnoblars. Absolute devastation over there. Yeah, the dual weapons just get in the back of these archers, going to tear them apart very, very quickly. And that's going to actually really break the back of this offensive, I think. If these archers get compromised, these spears are starting to get worn down. The Gnoblars have all rallied and are coming back. A second wave for the ogres. They are catching up in value. And I just worry about the reinforcement speed. Again, the ogres can get here a lot faster than the Wood Elves can. So they really need to keep the pressure up and make sure they're killing things very, very quickly. The Enigmas of Ghyran are still full health. They've got the regrowth used. They've got the flesh stone to keep them alive. Dryads are going to start taking objective number 2 very quickly, unless the ogres get something over here to counteract that. And looks like we do get a summon command. Well, we got dual weapons. Ogre Bowl dual weapons. Perfect choice to come to clear out these Dryads. Can't really afford to lose that objective, considering you have to spend so much resources just trying to retake the center, which is starting to go in favor of the ogres, looks like. Some of the spears over-chased for the Wood Elves. The archers getting worn down by those scrap launchers, or just running out of ammo, and now the ogre offensive can really begin in earnest. As well as we have some spears. Looks like they got a little bit forgotten out here, just chasing out those ogre bulls. They can come back to the center, but they won't be here in time to hold this objective. Trappers are just firing in, and they will do very, very nice work against all of these lightly armored, unshielded Wood Elves. Slaughtermaster himself is getting here. Does he have the melee attack debuff? Doesn't look like it. He's just getting in there for the fun of it. Doing what he can. Dryads coming in to counteract it, but the dual weapons should just massacre them, honestly. They are very, very good into that kind of infantry. Gnoblar support. Ogres should be taking this objective pretty soon, but I guess all the expendable Gnoblars aren't actually running that much cap weight. So we got another flesh to stone coming down on this on these bad boys, or is that another regrowth? It's another regrowth on these guys. Keeping them absolutely topped up. Ogre Lord needs to be a little bit careful. The Spellweaver's coming in, the Enigmas of Ghyran as well. Nothing really here to support him. He needs some Man-Eater or something to actually bail him out of that. There's nothing that can really go toe-to-toe with the Enigmas of Ghyran. Flock of them coming down to try and help him out, but he's in a lot of trouble here. He's getting surrounded by a lot of Wood Elf anti-large, all by himself, without even the debuff to help keep him alive. He's in a lot of trouble there, although the ogres are really, really rapidly catching up in value. Looks like they've broken through on the right-hand side and should have a very clear line to Objective 1. And more importantly, that means they can now swing around and really collapse on any Wood Elf reinforcements, which aren't actually on the field. There's like no reinforcements coming in for the Wood Elves. I wonder if they're supply capped or they're just stuck with all these archers that are routing and out of ammo. Some Wild Riders coming in, although they are not anti-large and are typically considered to be very overpriced. And like I said before, Cav just don't trade that well to Ogre Bulls, so I'm really concerned for the Wood Elves here. All they have left in their reserve is cavalry. They have a hard time doing with these Ogre Bulls. Yeah, they do some okay work there, but honestly, they give as good as they got, and they are a much more expensive unit. Although, they're doing pretty good there. Scrap launchers are still firing away, making themselves heard. But yeah, the Ogre Lord is in a lot of trouble. He's about to rout, and this could be actually okay. He gets a butcher for the heals, but this could be brutal for the ogres. If they lose their lord, their leadership is not phenomenal, so they can be in a lot of trouble very, very quickly. The Flock of Doom gets some good value, but he is routed, and I don't suspect Kark will let him come back. But you guys just chase him off, and that can be a very, very free lunch for the Wood Elves. But Objective 1, has just about fallen. Can these Wild Riders save it? No, they cannot. Not just yet. The Blade Rider Spears are being torn apart as well, but the Ogre Bulls, so the value is pretty even. The Scrap Launcher is about to be desummoned, which will be a big spike of income for the Ogres, which might be the second breath they need, but losing the Lord is really, really rough. The Enigmas of Ghyran have done absolute work already. Still full health, although I suppose they're fully heal capped. We do have some Mournfang Great Weapons coming as well. I wonder actually who wins this fight. Without the spells available, probably the Ogre Cav. Although, they're doing pretty good work, the Enigmas of Ghyran are. Sabertusk coming as well should help deal with them, but geez. I guess this unit does cost, what, like 600 more than these guys, so, fair enough. The Ogre Lord is being chased off by the Spellweaver. No surprise there. He's heading for the hills. He's running back to his great mama. So, and yeah, the Enigmas of Ghyran are just tearing apart these Mournfang Cav. Jeez, that was very, very fast. I guess they do have, no, they don't have base Fizz resist. They're just good unit, I guess. I guess they're just a better unit. Just built different. And yeah, with that, that's actually a massive value sink for the Ogres as well. The Scrap Launcher has moved up into melee, so I think it's probably a mistake. You probably just want to desummon it, get your value back. It is an okay chariot, but not really what you want out of it in this situation, I think. I think you just want more Ogre Bulls on the field. Wood Elves are just screaming forth, and they've got a regrowth on these War Dancer. I can't even tell the difference. I didn't realize they're War Dancers Here, I thought they were just Eternal Guard. Can't really tell the difference unless you zoom all the way in or check the unit card. And Wood Elves retaking Objective 1, and it looks like the Ogres are starting to feel in a bit of trouble here. The Wood Elves have gotten a second wind. They've got a lot of fresh infantry units, and the Ogre, again, the Lord Snipe is just so brutal for the Ogres. Shattered at this point, not coming back, and pretty expensive to resummon. Ogre Lords are usually at least 1,000. And at this point, Ogres just don't have a whole lot left on the field. They really need, trappers with ammo to kill the spears, need Ogres to kill everything else. Like, you just need a lot of things to actually get back into this. And I really, really wish that Scrap Launcher would be desummoned. It's not that helpful here, although it looks like it's being intentionally kept. I don't know if I agree with that. I think you really need it back. You really want that money back. And with the Wood Elves actually breaking through over here on this side point, I think it's going to be very hard for the Ogres to get back on these objectives. Their army just seems to be in complete tatters. So look, I mean, if we zoom out, there's just no Ogres on the field. There's a Ogre Bull here, there's a fresh one here, but I mean, it's fresh, it's at 75% leadership because the Lord is gone. Got some Gnoblars. I just don't see much of a hope for the Ogres at this point. The Wood Elves have just completely tabled them almost. And then the Enigmas of Ghyran are just farming yet another big single entity for the value. Oh my gosh, already 3,000 value for the Enigmas. Doing the work of, I don't even know what god the Wood Elves worship, I'll be honest. Somebody who knows the lore better can tell me, but Wood Elves do whatever Wood Elves want. One Fang Cav are going to try to get the counter snipe on the Spellweaver, but she should be safe enough. The Enigmas can just bounce over here and save her, right? 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 Okay. The Spellweaver can just run away, though. She's pretty quick and nimble, so she should be out of there. And the 3-cap does come in for the Wood Elves, which means Ogres do not have a lot of time to get back on these objectives. They're down almost 2,000... Oh, no, way over 2,000 value. The Ogre Bulls and the Gnoblars are trying to come back into it, but with the Enigma still there, hanging on strong. A lot of War Dancer Spears here as well. 50 MD on these bad ladies. And the Wild Riders charge coming to pincer it. I think this game is pretty much over in favor of the Wood Elves. I don't see a lot of hope left for Housecat's Ogres. So, yeah, just not enough left on the field. Honestly, the Lord Snipe really, really did him in. If Housecat keeps his Lord a little bit further back, keep him alive a little longer, I think Ogres have a pretty big chance in this fight. But without that Lord, without the spells, without the leadership, I think Ogres have a really, really hard time trading to all this anti-large that that the Wood Elves brought. And Housecat agrees, and he taps out. And Kark goes up 1-0 in our series. It is still best of 3, so Housecat has a chance to bring it all back. But we'll have to see what he can do on the next map. Yeah, I feel like there wasn't a really good answer to those Enigmas of Ghyran. I feel like they just kind of did whatever they want. The Maniac Weapons never got on them, or they did, and they got dumpstered by the Fizz Resist. I feel like these guys, I mean, 3,200 value, geez. Well, they're like a 2k unit, but still, that's very, very good value. Archers, mixed bag. Some of them paid for themselves, some of them didn't. Spears got, the Spears got dumpstered, which I'm not that surprised by. Azrai Spears, though, like the War Dancers did well. Cav did okay. I think it was really those Enigmas carrying, just eliminating all the big targets. I think the Lord Snipe really broke the back of the Ogres. I think the Ogre Lord stays alive. The Ogres probably hang in there a lot longer and win. Oh my gosh, Trappers are a silly unit. Trappers are just so good. These guys lost. They only got summoned once, and they lost. And they still got, 900 value on of... How much are these guys? 400? More than doubling their value. They got more value than the Maniac Reopen. Yeah, Cav? I would not expect they got much that much value, considering how poorly they did in the duel against the Enigmas of Ghyran. I'm actually astonished how much value those guys got. Yeah, Ogre Bulls, they did all right, but the leadership breaking just really crushed them, I think. All right, so that is game 1, and Kark takes the early lead. Can Housecat bring it back? We'll just have to wait and see. Next map was Celestial Lake. And now it is Kark's turn to pick 3, so we'll have to wait and see what he picks. Not the Zoats indeed, alls. Not the Zoats. The dreaded, dreaded Zoats. Alrighty, while we wait for the picks, I am going to run and get a refill of water real quick. I will be right back. Alright, I am back, and we are still waiting on the picks, it looks like. So we're just gonna have to wait a couple of moments while our players sort things out. So earlier today I was checking out that new Age of Sigmar RTS that was in open beta, that started the open beta the other day. I saw Turnplay and I thought I'd check it out, and not sure how I feel about it. It feels very, very bare bones so far. I'm stoked that Zotes are good now. Zotes are pretty good for a while. Wood Elves don't have a lot of great like mobility units, so having something that's elite and anti-large is pretty good. Anyway, yeah, Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin, that's what it's called. And I'm not a huge Age of Sigmar guy. I really don't like it. It feels like a lot of hodgepodge of various different like themes, which I don't really like. But it felt more like a Company of Heroes kind of style of RTS. But it felt like very, very bare bones, even for a beta. Like, just seemed like most of the games I played, I just walked at my opponent from the beginning and could just win. I had to like intentionally not really push my advantage to actually get to see more of the content. Like, I think I played like 4 or 5 games, only one of them actually got to see like the higher tier units. Like, it felt like you could just absolutely steamroll very, very early, but I don't know, there's promise there. I feel like it plays a little, I don't know, it's kind of unintuitive. The tooltips aren't all there yet, which felt really hard to learn. But I'm kind of curious to see how it does go. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts if anybody else has tried it. Just need to give some Dragon Ogres some. Oh, Dragon Ogres are so shit, dude. Dragon Ogres are so shit, and I don't know why. On paper, their stats are fine, but they're so shit. Like, let's see. Let me drop the blocker for a second. Dragon Ogres. Where are Dragon Ogres? They're monstrous. They are here. Yeah. Like, 3240, 110 isn't terrible, with like a good most large and a lot of HP. But for some reason, they just suck. They're just kind of terrible. Like, compare that to Zotes. Where is Zotes? Like, Zotes aren't great. They have a pretty similar stat line. Like, 2 less melee attack, 10 less, weapon strength. Same most versus large, a little less HP, and the bound spells for like 300 more. But Zotes just perform a lot better, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, the bound spells are nice. Flesh to Stone really, really increases your ability to trade into a lot of things. But Dragon Ogres, like, it feels like they just don't hit at all. Even if you like heal the shit out of them with Festus or something, or you buff them with whatever, like, it just doesn't feel good. They feel like they just can't deal damage, or their animations are weird, which is strange. Like, you think their animations are probably the same as Zotes, so I don't know why they just don't seem to connect. Animations are the issue. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected, but like I said, I would expect that Zotes and Dragon Ogres have like the same animation framework, like skeleton. Also, it looks like we got Greenskins Brett. Okay, so Brett are the unholy terror of the meta these days, and looks like we do have I think it was Housecat on Brett and Karkat Greenskins, but Greenskins have always had a pretty okay matchup into Brett. They have a lot of like cheap AP anti-large cavalry, which can trade pretty well into a lot of the Brett stuff. Gonna still have trouble with Grail Knights, I imagine. And honestly, I worry the Brett frontline might actually dumpster Greenskins these days. They've seen a lot of just like little buff after little buff after little buff. So like Battle Pilgrims, Foot Squires, they're all incredible, especially with Grail Reliques giving melee attack. And just the leadership between Grail Reliques and the the Knight Peasant effect, like the passive interaction they added. So this is a matchup I've been meaning to test. So I don't exactly know how it goes. Extremely similar. I think they use the same models. Yeah, like that's what I expected. Like they seem so similar. I don't know why they wouldn't use the same framework. So it's very odd to me that they have differing performance, at least so greatly differing. All right, looks like we got Azag the Slaughter up in the air. Death Magic is of course very popular against Bretonnia, as Pit of Buna is the one-stop shop for deleting Cav. Does about 4k damage to Cav, which is very, very nice against the Grail Knights that are such an unholy terror. Front line of Goblins, as well as Orc Boys and Squig Herds, and a single Doom Dagger for Catapult, and looks like we got double Goblin Big Boss. Curious to see Azag. Azag seems a little risky. I feel like if you want death, you probably go River Troll, because Azag's just kind of squishy. I guess he got 7k HP, but he doesn't have any Fizz Resist or anything like that. His stats aren't great, and I feel like any of the Flying Duelist Lords, which we have here, Alberic or even Lewin, would do a lot of work to him. So I'm curious what his goal is here. For the Forces of Bretonnia, like I said, we do have Alberic with, he is up on, I don't even remember what the mount's called. It's the flying one. It's a Griffin or something. We have Wrath of Manon, the Discourage AoE infantry clear. We have Braid of Orlo for the passive bonus for large aura with Leadership and Strider, and looks like that is all that's on him. Then we have, I saw the Grail Knights off the side. Not surprised. These are limited to 1 in this tournament, and most tournaments these days, because they are just incredibly strong. They also vanished before my very eyes. There they are. Didn't know they could do that trick. They push through infantry like nobody's business. They'll melt, they do very, very well into large as well, because they are anti-large armor piercing, but they'll kill infinite amount of infantry in lance formation. Like, you just can't stop them. Then we have loads and loads of peasants, backed up by loads and loads of battle pilgrims and men-at-arms, and two peasant bowmen, one with pox arrows, one regular, and a pair of Grail Reliques to just buff up those battle pilgrims and make them nigh unbreakable. Pump wagon spam versus Grail Knight spam. Let's go. Yeah, they're limited. Pump wagons, yeah, kind of surprised. Well, I wouldn't be that surprised to see them in reserve. Like, they're fast enough to usually reserve them. You don't need to start them. So, yeah, there's the Damsel of Life. No surprise there with Earthblood and Flesh to Stone. On the far side, we have Morgrim's Ancient Marauders, another staple of the Greenskins. Armor Piercing Skirm is amazing. Armor Piercing Skirmish Cav is just incredible. So, it's another one of their primary tools against, the unstoppable Unholy Grail Knights. Azag is just going to start pushing up, and if Alberic doesn't screen him, he will just walk up and Buna those Cav, I suspect. But probably a little bit of waste, because they will just be healed up before the fight actually starts. I expect Greenskins are going to want to set up, like, here-ish, to actually get that catapult line of sight, although, I don't know, it's a bit of an awkward dichotomy, because you have an artillery piece, but you don't have any other missile pieces. Whereas your opponent's archers, so you probably want to actually get on the aggressive, and just hope that you're being so aggressive they don't have time to go kill your artillery. More Peasant Bowmen coming as well, and yeah, Peasant Bowmen do pretty well into all the lightly armored Squigs. I guess they 50 armor, but still not that much. The Orc Boys, and then the Goblins who no longer have Silver Shields anymore. RIP Goblin Silver Shields. Or big ones coming in, like I said, they're a good answer into Bretonnian Cav, anti-large armor piercing, so anything short of Grail Knights actually really struggle into them. So they are a solid choice here as well, though they do struggle in the infantry themselves. So honestly, when I play this matchup in land battles, which I've done quite a bit, I actually really like just a massive peasant tide. Just loads of peasants and like chevron them up, and it's great. It's a great time. Brett is stepping a toe on objective number 2. Battle Pilgrims, not Battle Pilgrims, Peasant Mob are just charging in. They will be mulched by these Orc Boys, but they'll tither them out. Buna is going down on those Grail Knights. Wouldn't be surprised, yeah, Earthblood immediately coming in to heal them up. Keep them alive. Buna shouldn't take out any models, I don't believe, just does a lot of HP damage. Alberic will absolutely beat the snot out of Azag, especially since he has healing available, but also because he's armor. He has 42 bonus versus large. 42. Incredible. Battle Pilgrims piling in, getting countercharged by the Squig Hop. Not Squig Hoppers, just basic Squigs. I'm going to tear out the Battle Pilgrims, but they should do still. No, they're getting shredded. But the rest of the forces are just kind of having a stare off over here on the hills. I wouldn't be surprised if these archers get up here and actually start to help out. Without a Grail Relic, these Battle Pilgrims might actually break, whereas, if they have Grail Relic, they'll pretty much never break. Grail Knights are coming in now, and you can see just the terror they inflict upon infantry. Squigs are trying to pile in and wear them down, but they don't have a lot of mass themselves. So we got Borcav coming in to try and clear out some peasant mobs. Really want to get those into the Grail Knights, I suspect. If you can get a counter charge with the Grail Knights, on the Grail Knights, you do pretty well. Squigs are starting to tear apart those Grail Knights pretty quickly, as well as Morgrim's Ancient Marauders lending their aid as well. Taking a lot of damage. We do have a spell coming in. What is this? This is his bound ability? Is that what this is? Yeah, it's the Wrath of Manon, or whatever it's called. Grail Knights are gone, though. One Buna and some Focus Fire, and they are just gone. But the Peasant Bowmen are just free firing. The Pox Arrows doing very, very good work. I'd love to see Alberic come land over here and just get a massive terror out. Like, look how low everything here is. Look, I mean, Squigs are ITP, I suppose, but the Orc Boys are not, nor are the Goblins. So get Alberic in there and just start causing terror. So we got, that's the big boss. What else we got coming in? Nasty Skulkers coming in for Brett. We got a lot of infantry. Like I was saying, it's very good here. We got some Knights of the Realm as well. They'll do a good job clearing up all this infantry in the middle that is unsupported. Greenskins are, for the moment, holding a 2-cap, but they're not that far ahead on objective tickets just yet. And Brett has plenty of infantry coming in ready to fill in the gaps. Archers are just free firing, which is a bit of a problem for the Greenskins, I feel like. Not having a good answer to actually get back on those archers and just chew through all this infantry in time is a big problem. Peasant Bowmen, they don't have a ton of damage output, but if they're allowed to free fire, they will more than pay for themselves many times over. The Greenskins, well, they are up in value. I feel like they're just terror routing all over the place, or just routing in general all over the place. Whereas the Bretonnian infantry with the Grail Relic support is practically unbreakable, so... Law is popped, which means they will start to tear through all these peasants and the battle pilgrims very, very quickly, but they really need that extra stat boost to actually get through just all this dirt cheap Bretonnian chaff. Knights of the Realm got a little bit ahead of their infantry support, looks like that, and they are getting charged by the Orc Boar Big Ends, who are just tearing them to shreds. Like I said, the Cav is really hard against Greenskins for Brett. I feel like it's the infantry where you gotta like put your money in. And the battle pilgrims do a lot of good work, along with, basic men-at-arms and spears. Earthblood going down on Alberic. I'd love to see Alberic come over here and start, like I said, trying to get some terror routes over here on Objective 2 and really try to secure that objective, because you can't really have a lot of bow support over here. These trees are kind of in the way, so you gotta have your bow support over in the open, so use your SE to kind of balance out your other flank on the side. Earthbloodcaster is also on this objective. Azeg's coming in. If he gets the rear charge, I feel like going for a rear charge is pretty ambitious for Azeg, to be honest. Doomdiver, how much is this actually doing? 300, 400 gold? Okay, he's going for the Earthbloodcaster right next to Alberic and these buffed up spearmen who have the aura from Alberic, so he has a ton of anti-large, so Alberic should probably lay the smackdown on him. And Azeg needs to be careful. There's no healing available for him. Greenskins don't have any real actual healing. So if Azeg gets beaten down, that's it. He could be killed off very easily, and if, Greenskins are not a high leadership faction. If they lose their lord, probably going to be game. So you need to be very, very careful with Azeg. Bretonnian infantry is just streaming forth with the help of these Knights of the Realm. Where are those Grail Relics? Or at least like the key part of this Bretonnian offense, and I can't seem to find it. There's one, and I don't see one on that objective, which is kind of a shame. You really need one over there. Orcus Mage Bros are trying to shoot down Alberic, but they are missing horribly as he is quite mobile. We get a rear charge onto these Orc boys. Do we get a terror route? Not just yet, but it will come very, very shortly. A smoke bomb going off from those Nest Skulkers, trying to tear him in place. But the terror routes are coming in. The Squigs are doing a lot of work. There's the Grail Relic being torn apart by Squigs. Not where you want it to be, but more spears coming in to try and bail it out and try to clean up all those Squigs after Alberic does tear out all the infantry. Objective 2 is still held by the Greenskins. All of their units are non-expendable, which means they have a lot more capture weight. But we do have the Holy Wardens coming in to start absolutely cleaning up on that objective. The value lead, however, is solidly in favor of the Greenskins in the center. We do see them starting to break through, and those Boar Boys are just tearing apart everything that gets too far ahead. The ability control from Kark is very, very strong, as usual. I feel like Brett really doesn't want to push up in the open field, which is kind of odd to say about Bretonnia, but I feel like you really just want to play back, play around your archers, and then play for objective number 2, which they are starting to take pretty heavily, but they're losing the main field fight at the same time. They're catching up in the value a little bit, but the Boar Cav is a problem. You need a lot of like men-at-arm polearms coming out, something like that. And hey, look at that! Men-at-arm polearms! What do you know? It's the Realm are just rallying back up, but the archers are still free firing. I'm sure they've racked up. Yeah, they paid for themselves already. They still have plenty of ammo available. Greenskins probably just want to like pivot over to the other side because they have mobility superiority at this point. There are some Knights of the Realm coming in. Honestly, I wonder if it's worth Alberic's time to go and kill these guys. Probably not. Their melee defense is pretty high. They're just kind of a nuisance. Let them fight men-at-arms or something. Archers, I feel like you just want to, at this point, Brett's kind of won the fight over here. Just pivot over this direction and start peppering those Cav, because you really don't want to deal with those Cav in melee, at least not with your own Cav. And especially not without spear support. I guess you get men-at-arms. Why do men-at-arms swords icons look like the Greenskins one? I thought there was like a straight blade. I thought that's what men-at-arms had. Never noticed that. Anyway, Warboy Biggins are just sandwiching these, what are they? Knights of the Realm? Yeah. Doomdiver Capital. Really curious how that thing's doing. Not very well. I'm not that surprised, to be honest. That thing is not something I really expected to see here, and for good reason. Holy Wardens are pushed up a little bit too far. I'd love to see them pull back onto the objective, but like I said, Brett has a pretty solid hold here with a lot of spears, so these Squigs coming in are going to have a hard time. Although Night Goblin Carvers do get into the back on the archers, so that is going to be a pretty money play for the Greenskins. But Brett is doing a good job not to fall further behind in the value trading. What do we have coming in? We have Knights of the Realm coming back in. Lots and lots of anti-large. And these Boar Cav are starting to get worn down. Just fighting in infantry is not really where they want to be. They have very, very low stats. They really rely on that bonus versus large and the charge bonus to do much damage. So they really don't want to be stuck fighting in this infantry all day. And Brett does have a really solid 2-cap. It feels like Greenskins have a really hard time forcing off all of these Bretonnian units, although I suppose they are all fairly low health. The Holy Wardens will do good work. The Earthblood coming in, as well as the anti-large aura from Alberic, doing very, very good work. These Nasty Skulkers just don't have the stats to really go toe-to-toe with these Holy Wardens. They'll chew through a lot of these units, but I really wish they had a bit more support. Like, bring up the Grow Relic, give them that little extra melee attack. On the left side, Greenskins are really struggling to find headway. They don't have any infantry support over here. It's really just cavalry, which means they have a hard time chewing through all of this just cheap man-at-arms chaff for Bretonnia. Like I said, the Boarcav, not that great against infantry. They do okay on the charge. They do really poorly if they're left in melee. They will be moving around and fighting cav. So this man-at-arm infantry, especially if there were more spears, which doesn't look like it. There's a single pole arm. Those things are a big issue for them. Squigs are still trying in vain to try and finish off that Grow Relic. The Knights of the Realm doing good work to keep it alive. Holy Wardens are up to 108 kills already. Lots and lots of value for them. Again, the anti-large and laser support helping out. Smoke Bomb going down. Not sure that really accomplishes a whole lot for you, but you know, it's the thought that counts. Greenskins are still pretty far behind, or ahead in value, but I guess the healing coming in from just the Earthblood spam as well as the lore passive from Brett doing good work. Knights of the Realm countercharging all of these Boar Boys with Flesh Stone means they will actually probably finish these guys off, which is a pretty big win for Bretonnia, getting that cav off the field at long last. Cav over here is being worn down as well by pole arms, and Greenskins are starting to look a little slim. They've got a lot of Nasty Skulkers coming in. The unit going down on the Knights of the Realm means that there will be a trade of cavalry here on objective number 2. A lot of Nasty Skulkers coming in, which is kind of surprising. Not really sure why you bring the anti-armor cheap option for against Bretonnia. That just doesn't seem that great here. I don't know what the idea behind the Nasty Skulkers is. They're kind of pricey. They have pretty crappy stats. I guess this activates a lot because you're fighting peasants, which is kind of nice. But I don't know. The Nasty Skulkers seem like a weird pick for me. Brett does need some more reinforcements on this objective, and we do have more battle programs coming in, because there is just an endless tide of Greenskins. Morgrum's Mage Marauders have been resummoned. Bretonnian Cav is starting to counter-charge. I guess the Smoke Bomb. The Smoke Bombs to counteract the Cav. That's what they're for. Just spamming the Smoke Bombs so you can actually catch and kill the Cav. That makes sense. I still don't love it. It's a lot of micro and not a lot of stats. So it's a lot of room for user error. Whereas if you just go for I don't know, maybe you don't have a better option as Greenskins. Maybe it works. But still, it's a lot of room for user error that I'm not loving. Azag is just hanging about, not really accomplishing a whole lot. He can't really land, because Alberic will just pummel him if he ever lands. If he tries to go for that Grow Relic, which he might go for here. Yeah, Alberic is on the ground and probably ready to be smoke bombed. So if he tries to punch Azag, Azag is going to be right out. Oh no, the Damsel of Life is actually routed, although most of the Wom is probably spent. Yeah, 11 minutes in, she's just spamming since the beginning. She does die out, but honestly, it's not a huge loss for Brett. Wom is mostly spent. She's not expensive, even if you do need to resummon her. But the big problem is that Greenskins are getting back in this objective. And something in here, we got some Knights of the Realm coming in, as well as some peasant mobs. Exactly what Brett's needs to come to clear all that infantry. And Greenskins in the field are starting to wear thin. There's only some Squigs really defending objective number 3. Squigs fighting Knights of the Realm is not a great fight. They are anti-infantry, their stats aren't great. So the anti-large armored cav will do quite well into them. And that means Greenskins will need to protect their own base objective here pretty soon. But they are taking objective 2 back and taking it back quickly. Alberic beating out Azag again. Azag's forced to leave. Nasty Skulkers are flooding onto the objective, but again, I feel like these aren't the most efficient infantry in the world. The Cav coming in with a nice downhill charge. We're going to start tearing apart. I don't know what that charge was aimed at. That was all lined up to be perfectly cinematic, and then they just botched it. They charged for their own Grow Relic or something. Looks like Alberic is trying to lead this back down Azag, and Azag is running. He is quite fast, so Alberic will have a hard time keeping up with him. But the Bacon Cav is nowhere to be seen. I guess, oh no, there's some Bacon Cav, but there's none over here to answer these Knights of the Realm, so they can just keep charging all this Greenskins infantry. Greenskins have actually wandered off the point trying to chase Alberic, which means the Bretonnian infantry had time to actually hold down the fort on this objective and reinforce. On the far side, Brett's just not advancing. They're just holding the ground on objective 1, which I think is the right choice. Fighting an infantry blob fight is kind of what you want with all those AoE effects from the healing that they had, the Alberic, AoE aura, the Grow Relics. I feel like just fighting this AoE blob fight on objective 2 is exactly what Brett wants. Brett's really, really good at that infantry grind these days. The melee attack buffs, the anti-large bonuses, it's amazing. I mean, look at these Knights of the Realm. They got 24 bonus versus large with Alberic. Alberic is pretty nice for that AoE buff against anything large. And Brett has actually taken the value lead, which is really, really rough for Greenskins, because again, the healing. Brett got so much healing. They probably got, 2,000-3,000 value in healing, at least. So, their units are just, outstatting the Greenskins, which is really unfortunate for them. Peasant mobs just intercept the Squig herd, just wearing them down, trying to rampage them before they get here. Cav is going to recharge them or countercharge them and do very, very nice work. And that's what peasant mobs are for. Eat the charge and then let something more valuable countercharge. Beautiful Brett play there from Housecat. And Greenskins are starting to look a little thin. A lot of their units are routing. They're going for kind of a desperate play onto Objective 1 against all this infantry. Pretty much nothing here. Yeah. Companions coming in. They will just absolutely mulch anything large. Do they have the Knight's Vow? It does look like they do. They're the cheaper variant, which is still plenty good at killing large things. They are a pretty elite anti-large AB Cav. I mean, look at the stats on these bad boys. That's exactly the kind of thing Greenskins hate fighting. It's just this really, really well-statted types of units, and Greenskins really struggle with it. The Boar Cav is being chased down by the Knights of the Realm with some Seer support, and they are being worn out as well, and I see little hope left for the Greenskins here. They've got to get back on both of these objectives, and they got to get there fast. They're 3 cap, not just yet. They will before terribly long, and there's a lone Halberd going for the back cap, and this is the problem for Greenskins. Like, what do you summon to deal with this Halberd? Squig Herds ain't going to do very well. It's a Halberd, so Squig Hoppers, I mean, they'll do okay. I mean, that's one more thing that you're not sending forward to the other objectives you have to capture. You gotta get on one of these, and by the time you get on one, you probably have to get on 2. So, like, you just don't have a lot of time. You got a lot of places you need to be, and you just don't have many units on the field. Everything's routing, everything's in tatters. That's more Nasty Skulkers can be, and I just really hate this Nasty Skulker pick. They have not done much of anything. Companions coming to try and force the back up as well. Really tear apart those Goblin Squig Hoppers. And yeah, looks like Brett's gonna get the 3 cap one, and Greenskins the ones who really, really need it. The endless tide of peasants is prevailing over the ferocity of the Greenskins. Nice little recharge here on the Boar Cap, but at this point, Greenskins can't afford to spend time value trading. They really just got to be on objectives, because they do have to 3 cap at this point. And I just don't see the units on the field to do it. They've got so many Bretonnian, infantry HP bars to chew through to actually get anywhere. Don't have things where they need to be, and he's just summoning more and more Cav, and it's just being, repelled by all the infantry. The Boar Cav doesn't do that great in infantry, and you just don't have a good answer as Greenskin to all of this, Battle Pilgrims, Spears, Halberds, all that. And that's what things that, that's what things so good about Brett right now. It's like, yeah, they have the OP as hell Grail Knights, they have the really OP Royal Hippogriff Knights, but also their infantry line is just incredible. The Grail Relic buffs, the progressive buffs on the Foot Squires, and the Battle Pilgrims mean the Brett infantry line is so strong these days. Especially, the AoE buff from Alberic and the healing. Like, Brett just has so many, like, everything about them is just good. Like, I think even if you took away the Grail Knights, they'd still be really good. Like, the Grail Knight got deleted really early in this game. That's like the only thing that kept Greenskins in the fight, was how much value got sunk on the Grail Knight early. But, like, it didn't even matter. This infantry is just so grinding. I think Azag even got the summon. He just dropped his Bunas, and that was really all he's good for. I don't know, I really didn't like the Azag pick. Like, I feel like you just need Wurzag to chew all the infantry. Like, without having the Wurzag, like, attack buffs, so hard. I guess you want Buna for the Grail Knights, but, I mean, clearly, without the attack buffs, you cannot stand up to the melee infantry prowess of Bretonnia. Which is not something you think you say, Usually they have peasant front lines. So having their front line be so dominant is kind of surprising. How much value did Azak even get? 2100? Okay, he did okay. Yeah, Doom Diver didn't do too great. I think it was just there to shoot Cav, which I guess it does okay at, but not great. There wasn't a whole lot of Bretonnian Cav. It was a lot of that infantry grind, which is kind of a classic in this matchup. Greenskin typically beat Bretonnian mobility, so they bring a lot of infantry for the Brett side. Even back all the way in Warhammer 2, that was the strat. Orcav doing good work. All these guys have multiple summons. Wig's doing good. Morgan Page Marauders, as always, do good. Nasty Skulkers, I guess they did okay. They did better than I thought they would. Okay. Maybe I underestimated that unit. The Grail Knight got shut down, which is kind of a common experience for Brett players this patch. I think it's like everybody's like, all right, how do we kill the Grail Knight? And so anytime a Brett player brings out a Grail Knight, it just gets deleted, so. But, I mean, like I said, there's just so many other threats on the Brett roster these days. It's just hard to deal with. Like, I mean, these are basic men-at-arms spears. They get good value. Peasant mobs doing well. Knights of the Realm did really well. Companions, okay, they didn't do well, but they were also weren't on the field very long and sold most of their HP. So, that is Housecat tying up our series, giving us a proper scrap. And that takes us to our third and final map for all the marbles. What was the final map? It was Bordello. Classic map, pretty big, pretty open. You can run a lot of different things on it. You can do the fast, aggressive, mobility-focused factions. You can do more defensive, missile-focused factions. A pretty good variety. So curious to see what our players bring out in their, dire straits. I've really been impressed with Borkav. Borkav's pretty good for how cheap it is. Like, I can drop the blocker for a moment. Like, Savage Orc Borkav is pretty good. Again, it's pretty cheap, so if you just keep charging it and using the Frenzy, it is pretty well. The Orc Boar begins to really well into Armored Cav. Again, they're not exceptional, but they're cheap, especially when you add Warzag's melee attack buffs, which we didn't have this game, which is one of the reasons they didn't do quite as well. Like, Greenskins in general just really, really love Warzag's melee attack buffs. Just the Bonewood Staff. I think it's the Bonewood Staff. You're the Bonewood Staff, right? Yeah, Bonewood Staff. Giving melee attack and charge most of the whole army does really, really well with those Bacon Cav. So. Alright, sorry about that. I had to fix my mic real quick. Mic stand came loose. Yeah, Border of the Landing. So, Kark just swapped dwarves. Remember at the beginning of this series when I said Kark usually plays like fast, aggressive melee factions, and now he's gonna play Wood Elves and Dwarves? Neat. What is the pick system for the tiebreaker? I believe it's usually that the winner of the second game picks. Let me double check. Oh no, it's back to the pick 3 band too. So we have Kark on Dwarves apparently, which is not something I thought I'd see. And what do we have out of Housecat? Correct, they banned from Heavy Cav. You mean aside from the Jade Lancers? Probably. It's not like when I think of what would fix Cathay, that's not my first choice, but always having more options is always good. But yeah, having like a 1200 or 1500 gold like elite cav option definitely wouldn't hurt. It's kind of competing with the Longmas, so it's not going to do like wonders for them, but it definitely doesn't hurt. But yeah, probably not exactly what they need to really start being super competitive. Tomb Kings, okay. Housecat is a Tomb Kings main, so I'm not surprised to see that out of him, but this is typically considered a really, really rough matchup for Tomb Kings, as they have very little armor piercing on their roster, especially in melee. So typically Tomb Kings have to go for like really, really greedy, either like single entity builds, or mass catapults, or mass Shabti Great Bows, or something like that. I think one of the handful of like good armor piercing units they have, like Tomb Kings have to be really, really greedy around them. Because dwarves have so much armor and they don't have a lot of great answer for it. So. And also, we usually see from dwarves in this matchup is just as much armored infantry as you can get. Like range units are fine, but like a lot of the Tomb Kings units are shielded, so you really just want like your dwarf warriors, your miners, your longbeards, like everything you can get, and just slam it down the Tomb Kings' throats as fast as you can. That's typically what you see from the dwarves. And Tomb Kings, yeah, like you don't really want to bring in a lot of missiles for dwarves either, because the Tomb Kings chariots are actually reasonable. They don't have a lot of AP damage, but they push through just fine, so they can disrupt the missile units. If you have any like rangers, I think they're pretty good targets as well. Slayers aren't typically that useful here because there's so much just DK infantry to chew through, and there's just always skeletons getting in their way, so they have a hard time finding the right targets. So Yeah, Dwarf is just, minus blasting charges, Dwarf Warriors, Dwarf Warrior Great Opens, Longbeard Great Opens, just as much armor infantry as you can get. And Tomb Kings really have to get creative and go really, really greedy on some kind of armor-piercing piece. Either like, multiple War Sphinxes or full Ushabti with Necrotex to buff them, or like Quad Catapult, or multiple, Caskets of Souls. Yeah, Tomb Kings gotta get kind of cheesy in this matchup, so here's see what variety of cheese Housecat enjoys. Curious indeed. Yeah, back to the Grand Cathay question. Heavy Cav, like Elite Heavy Cav, is not usually a defensive tool. It's usually used to play aggressively. Like we saw with Brett, like you want to go and charge through the infantry and try to support your front line. So it doesn't really fit Cathay's playstyle that well because they don't have anything else that can go aggressive with them, really. Their infantry is very defensive, their missiles are obviously a defensive unit, so it doesn't really fit Cathay's playstyle. Like as it is, their Cav just kind of serves the role of keeping their missiles alive, which is kind of thing everything on the Cathay's roster serves. Like their goal is to keep the missiles alive, and Heavy Cav doesn't really play towards that goal. They would need a lot of other units in order to enable an aggressive playstyle, more than just Heavy Cav. They need like aggressive infantry or monster infantry or something like that to actually help with that, as well as some kind of aggressive Harmony source, because right now it's like you have to play defensively to play around Harmony. Alright. I'm going to wait to remove the blocker until we get in the game, because I don't want to crash. Alright. Here we are. Tiebreaker match between Kark and Housecat. We got Dwarves versus Tomb Kings. They both have basic bitch banners. What a shame. We had the absolute style-in from Housecat's Ogres. Pink banner. And now we have this. Jade Warrior Great Ones would help Cathay a ton. I don't know how to enable an aggressive playstyle. They need a mobile Harmony source to do that, or like some kind of aggressive Harmony source. But Jade Warrior Great Ones would help Cathay a ton, just because you could have more Jade Warriors. If you just have 10 Jade Warriors, you're in a good spot. Okay, so Kark's Dwarves. We got double cannon. Not that surprising. Very good choice into Ushabti Great Bows as well as Screen Skull Catapults. Cannons are kind of the principal like artillery dueling piece for most factions that have them, so they're a good option into Tomb King's Catapults and Ushabti. We have a Hero Blob with a Thane, Felix, and Thorek himself, who has Rune of Doom, Wrath of Ruin, Breaking. Wait, Breaking? Interesting. I guess using that for constructs? Usually you see either speed or slow. I don't see Breaking very often. Then he has Locus of Power, which if the enemy caster comes near him, they're going to have a bad day. Thane and Felix for healing. Longbeards, Dwarf Warriors, Longbeards, Dwarf Warriors. Like I said, lots of armored infantry. For Tomb Kings, Quad Screaming Skull Catapult. Yep. So you got to be very, very greedy for your shooting, because it's most of what your AP is. Like you just don't have AP in the front line. Skeleton Warriors, and I believe I saw one of Housecat's favorite tech pieces. He's been trying to get this to work for a while. This is Khalida on her Sneck. Is the Venom Staff, which can do pretty good damage into infantry if you get nice long-blade shots. So have to keep an eye on him and see if he gets good shots. We have a Lich Priest of Nehekar to come be your caster with Incantation of Cursed Blades, as well as Incantation of Protection, and the Lore Passive, which is really what you're going for. You just spam those spells to proc the Lore Passive, gives you a massive amount of healing for your whole army. And then we have just a smattering infantry. Nehekar Warriors, Skeleton Warriors, all that good stuff. And we have the Chosen of Gods trying to hide back here in the trees and failing. They are not very hidden in the trees. I feel like you just... Where'd they go? Where'd they go? Oh, they're up front now. Okay. I think you can just play them off to either side, like poke them into, like have them in these trees and just poke out and shoot and run away. Or the same thing on the other side, like just chill in here, poke out of the trees, fire a volley, and run away again. Like as soon as he sees those cannons, he's going to realize those Ushabti can't really be there. Although I wonder if the cannons can actually get lines on the catapults over that little hill in the center. Like getting right up over here. I wonder if they're actually a nice line of fire, or if the incline is too steep for them. the incline's too steep, then suddenly Tomb King, like, this is Tomb King's game to lose. If the cannons can't snipe those artillery pieces, then dwarves are going to have a bad time walking into a meat grinder. Of course, there is some cover with the good old penis tower. You know, right in the center, very prominently on my stream, which is exactly where I want it. Slayer's going to the trees, trying to get a nice flank onto those catapults. Using them more as a cav unit than as a peel unit in this instance. Some chariots coming in. There is nothing really to stop the chariots sighting the cannons, so not a bad choice there. Shot to Great Bow are the target of the cannons, firing the trees, trying to just take them down. They really need to just go into line formation behind the tower, like Khalid's doing right here, or they just run away. You know, they walk up, they see the cannons, and they're just out. Understandable. It's a very expensive, very high value unit that you just don't want getting shot by artillery from across the map, so understandable you just run away. Not a bad choice at all. Catapults are starting to approach the range they need to be. There we go. That is one nice thing, is the catapults can just stay super deep, whereas the cannons have to come up and actually, you know, engage with them. Catapults just try to cover a center objective, and that's all you really need to accomplish, because the cannons only really serve the purpose of sniping the artillery. They don't do a whole lot of good against the infantry. Nekar Warriors coming in for the Tomb Kings, and Blasting Charges coming for the Dwarves. No great shock there. Catapults are firing in. Actually, no, that was Khalida, I think. The poison effect. Yeah, Khalida got, you know, 170 value with the Venom Staff. Yeah, but now the catapults are firing in, and the Dwarf Warriors and the Longbeards are excellent targets for them. So the Dwarves are now just advancing under fire. It's not what they're used to doing. This is usually what they do to other people. So, you know, a bit of karma for the Dwarves here. Hero Squad is going to be a bit of a nuisance for the Tomb Kings if they ever get onto Khalida. Khalida's going to have a very, very bad day, so she's going to have to keep running for them. Really just got to drown them in Skeleton Warriors. Another Venom Staff cast does reasonable damage. She had 170 before. How much you got now? Yeah, it was like a 40 damage cast. That's kind of underwhelming. Tomb Kings are just going to back off and give Dwarves the point. They really just want to spend time saturating them with catapult fire and really softening them up before they get into melee too much. As well as they want to have lots of units on the field to benefit from all that healing. Mass Tomb King Skeleton Horseman Summon. The cheap 400 gold summon. I suspect they're just going to come out here and go for the artillery crews. The artillery crews are not armored, so they are actually one of the few soft targets dwarves have for you. And the catapults are, of course, just raining death upon them. Dwarves cap the objective, realize they don't need to be seeing getting shot anymore, and just back off, which is a smart choice. You just park that hero blob behind the tower. They're perfectly safe. You can keep your other dwarves out of range, but it's a little risky. Slayers have emerged from the trees on top of these Chosen of the Gods, but there are skeleton spears here to catch them just fine. Slayers do really hate fighting basic infantry, so the skeletons are a nice counter to them. And the Chosen of the Gods are much too fast for them to catch anyway. Yep. And yeah, dwarves are just falling back out of range. They really don't want to engage into all these catapults. They don't have a good way to disrupt them without the cannons getting in range. But the cannons, really surprised the cannons haven't pushed up and tried to start shooting the catapults. There we go. They're on the catapults now. That's the target. Skeletons, horsemen are coming to the trees, but I think Kark realized that and he started sending a bunch of units to screen these catapults. Or, excuse me, screen the cannons. Catapults are still doing good work. Cannons firing in, just trying to get whatever shots they can. Skeleton Warriors. The Hero Blob is starting to grind on the center objective as the Tomb Kings do push up to try and recapture. Khalida is the target of one of the cannons, and she seems to be doing... What are you up to, Khalida? What are you doing? Nothing! Neato. Where's that cav flank coming along? Wide flank with 3 horsemen unit, but there are a bunch of miners coming on top of the cannon. Curious to see if Kark realizes that. Doesn't look like his Slayers are headed that way, so if he's not careful, he could lose his cannons very, very early, and that would be very, very painful, since you have no recourse to actually stop these catapults from firing. And the catapults are really the win condition for the Tomb Kings. If they can keep them online, they will do wonders. Killing a miner without using his blasting charges just feels so good. Oh, I hate that unit so much. Seeing it die early is amazing. Both cannons are targeted on to Khalida, which I think is a mistake. You really got to stop these catapults from firing, because, I mean, just look at what they're doing to your Dwarf Warriors. They're destroying them, they're lowering their leadership. Khalida's stopping these blast charges from firing, doing very, very good work there. Where's that chariot? I saw a chariot just hovering around. Ah, there he is. In the backfield, just headed for them. Catapults, or cavalry are on top of the cannons. Blasting charges are being fired upon them, not doing a whole lot. Cannons are being shut down and disrupted. Very, very nice flank from Housecat here. And that might be exactly what he needs to win the game. Blasting charges going down are doing as much harm as good. They're doing a lot of damage to those cannon crews as well as those skeletons. But not doing enough to actually save the cannons, unfortunately, for the dwarves. Chariots are running over the miners in the midfield. Nothing really stopped them from doing what they want. Tomb Kings have recaptured the center objective. Slayers are being worn down by double Nehekar Warriors. And the Chosen of the Gods are free firing into miners. Oh, this is looking very, very good for the Tomb Kings so far. Like, dwarves just feel pretty powerless here to stop them. Cannons being disruptive, like I said, the cannons were their lifeline. They really need to be online, and they really need to be sniping those catapults, but they haven't been able to do so. I wonder if it is the line of sight problem. It's kind of hard to tell from spectator POV if the catapults are the problem, but they seem to be targeting other things. Like they've been targeting Khalida a lot, targeting Boshabti, targeting infantry. So I wonder if he has been able to actually get line of sight. If so, that's absolutely devastating for the dwarves. This cannon looks like it is going to be routing off. Shut down for good. Skeleton Horsemen. Actually, that's the heck. Oh, no, that's Skeleton Horsemen. And the Chariots are both in the backfield, just causing all sorts of disruptions, slowing down the Dwarven reinforcements, meaning that there are fewer targets for the catapults to fire on. Dwarves are going for a cheeky rush on the catapults, but this is the problem. This Dwarven flank is going to take over a minute to get there, in which time the Tomb King player has plenty of time to answer, get these guys over here, turn and focus fire them, take the crew and run away. Like, you have so many options to the Tomb Kings to answer that flank. And this is the problem the Dwarves have in most matchups, that they're very predictable. You really got to plan ahead for them, and your opponent has all the time to counteract your moves. Miners are going for a bit of cheeky backup, although honestly, this blasting charge volley might be all the value they need. You can get one value on these stacked Nehekar warriors. That's going to be brutal. Housecut does see it, but he doesn't seem to be moving them away from each other. Just kind of stack up more. Oh no, the blasting charges! Some nice damage down, but they aren't going to take this point on their own. What's Khalida up to? Khalida is fighting some Longbeards on the center objective, grinding away. What's her value up to these days? Only 500. Shocking. It's like 1600, I think. Usually pretty... Actually, Silver Mount. I don't know how much she costs. Ushabti summon in the backfield to take down the other cannon. Make sure that there is no threat to this catapult, the big breadwinner for the Tomb Kings. And these, yeah, this flank is intercepted by a Skeleton Warrior, as well as some Skeleton Horsemen. Catapults are now focus firing. Make sure to keep themselves online. And yeah, dwarves, like I said, without artillery to counter snipe them, or like gyros to go and snipe them, dwarves cannot get on top of these things, and that's the big problem for them in this matchup. So you can't get on top of those catapults, you're in for a world of hurt. Looks like the Hero Blob is trying to chase down Khalida. I don't suspect they'll catch her. Oh wait, Khalida's not mounted. Wait, that's not Khalida. That's not Khalida. That's a Lich Priest who is running away. Honestly, if the Lich Priest dies, it's not a huge deal either. He's pretty cheap. He can be resummoned for like 600 or 700 gold. Not a big issue. Dwarves are being intercepted. Dwarf Warriors being ground down by these Skeleton Warriors. Lots of Skeleton Bony Boys just wasting Dwarves' time on the center objective while the catapults really do the work. Now, there is an angle to be worried about where the catapults are all starting to run out of ammo, and they will all run out of ammo around the same time. So there will be a big window for the Dwarves where there isn't any artillery fire to actually support the Tomb Kings, and therefore there's going to be no armor piercing. The question is, can the Dwarves actually capitalize on that window to actually retake the objectives and make up the value difference? So it is something to definitely be concerned about as a Tomb Kings enjoyer. Trying to focus down the Lich Priest, not doing a whole lot. He's got Fizz Resist, so the miners aren't doing a whole lot. Hero Blob is stuck up in all these Skeleton Spears, and the point is still very solidly being held by the Tomb Kings. Objective 3 looks pretty empty, and Housecut seems to realize that, sending the Horseman here. The nice thing about sending a Horseman here is that the Dwarf sends something really slow to answer it. If the Dwarf sends something really slow to answer it, the Horseman can just bugger off, and the Dwarves are stuck there, just walking back. Dwarf Warriors are being worn down. Rune of Doom is popped, but there's just so many Bunny Boys on the center. They're going to have a hard time chewing through it. It's really just a play against the clock. There's the backup coming in, just around the edge of the woods, make the dwarves walk as far as possible out of position, and then you can just walk away, and that's such annoying. That's so annoying for the dwarves to deal with. So annoying. So even though they have Slayers here, like, Slayers aren't fast. Fast for a dwarf, but that's not fast. So it's just going to take them a long time to go chase off those cav, and then have to go actually get somewhere active in the fight, or they just have to sit there on the side objective for the rest of the game, which really hurts you. Khalida is a little too close to that character blob for my taste. She is stuck in, and this is the one way the Tomb Kings can throw this, I feel like. If she gets sniped out by Thoric, the Thane, and Felix, she's in a lot of trouble here. Although it looks like she thinks she's taking this fight. Thoric is a little out of position, and I don't see Felix. Oh, Felix is right there with him. Okay, yeah, Khalida needs to leave. Although the Thane's leadership is just nuked from a lot of different effects, I think. I guess just the catapults lowering their leadership, but I'm not too sure there. Chosen the Gods have run into melee. Not sure if that was intentional, but their melee sets are pretty considerable for a new Ushabti. You know, they are an ROR, they have 9 chevrons, and they've already racked up very little value, so, you know, might as well get your money's worth. Dwarves are starting to retake the center, and now the catapults are really low on ammo. And struggling to get line of sight, looks like. So, this is the Dwarves' window. If they can retake this objective, waste all that Tomb King's ammo, really retake, and this is that miner blob I talked about. The cavalry has run off. They've gone wherever the heck they want, and now there's a bunch of miners and slayers over here that can't actually contribute to the fight in any meaningful way, and they just have to stay here, because otherwise the cav are going to come back. Cav Cav come back, take it, and it's just doomsday for the dwarves. They really, really need to hold that objective, and they can't, they can't threaten it in any way, so they have to just sit on it. So they have a lot of funds just lying around. It's not that much, it's like 2.5 miners. But that's still like 600-700 funds that's just not doing anything for you. So, Tomb Kings are still up a pretty hefty amount of value, and the catapults are still firing in. They are very low on ammo, though. You really, really need to cycle these catapults. Like, D7 with the least ammo and get back on the field, so you don't really have as much downtime. Slayers coming in. Slayers aren't a huge threat to Tomb Kings. They're not armored. They aren't really, abused. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez, that charge from the chariot. The chariots need to keep moving, though. The Slayers, when they stand back up, will tear them apart, but yeah. Skeleton Warriors will trade well into Slayers, as we discussed before. Slayers really aren't what you need here for Dwarves, I feel like. I think you just need all the armor in the world. But at this point, it's just looking really grim for the Dwarves. They got some Dwarf Warriors going for a back cap. There are some Spearmen here, but the catapults, the problem is the catapults can project their influence pretty much anywhere on the map at this point. There's some miners going for some kind of back cap play, but there's so many bony boys. It's very hard for Dwarves to actually take positioning on the map, because they take so long to chew through all the HP of these Skeleton Warriors. They're very tanky, as well as all the healing they're getting. Khalida is inting, though. If she dies here, again, that could be very, very bad for the Tomb Kings. She needs to get out of here. She should just walk away. She's mounted. She can just walk away from this. I don't know why she isn't. She has not a whole lot of mass. Thoric's actually pushing her to safety. She's surrounded by Slayers and the Dwarf Hero Blob. She needs help. She needs to get out of there. She's very low on HP. If she crumbles away, the Dwarves could still bring this back. They don't have to 3-cap yet. So Khalida needs to stay alive. Come on, Khalida. Get out of there. She got Cav trying to bail her out, but get out of there. Why are you fighting? You don't need to fight this, Khalida. Housecat, stop it. Why? You don't need to prove Khalida that much. Like I said, the back cap. If the Dwarves leave, which they did, they got greedy. They tried to leave because they need the miners elsewhere. Actually, so they got... Oh, they went to stuff to back up in the trees, and now the Cav are just back up again. It's so troll and so hard to deal with as a slow faction like the Dwarves. Backup attempt of their own is coming in, though. They've got some, what are those, Dwarf Warriors? Yeah, Dwarf Warriors coming in the trees and from the main forest. And the catapults are gone. Catapults are out of ammo. These ones have probably 2 volleys, 3 volleys. 4 volleys between the 2 of them. So now the Tomb Kings have massive damage low, which is a big problem. Dwarves could still win this. They're still behind in value, but the Tomb Kings just don't have cost-effective answers to anything. To Khalida get out, Khalida did get out. Good. She needs to go help answer this side cap threat. There's a backup of their own coming in. Like I said, the cavalry are doing a good job disrupting the miners. The miners' melee stats aren't enough to actually hold them up against the cav charges. And the infantry is slowly pushing on to the point, which means Tomb Kings will get a brief 3-cap before they get back capped of their own. Though it looks like Tomb Kings are answering it pretty quickly. The thing is, Tomb Kings need those catapults back, I think. I don't know, they're not going to have a lot of time to really pay for themselves, but they really need some kind of armor-piercing source, as well as that Discourage effect is still incredibly valuable. Although at this point, Dwarves are starting at the point where they do need the 3-cap, which is, of course, very, very difficult for a slow faction from the Dwarves. And at this point, Tomb Kings can just start to summon all the infantry in the world and spam it onto the closest objective to their spawn. Dwarves aren't actually able to manage the back cap. Khalida and the cavalry come in to save the day. I think Dwarves are in a lot of trouble here. They have to 3-cap at this point. They don't have their own objective. They don't have the center objective. They're taking the center objective. They'll take their own objective here eventually. If they'll win this fight eventually, if only because the reinforcements are so close. But the problem is they've got to be on all 3 objectives, and they've got to be there now. And Dwarves don't do now very good. They do in 10 minutes pretty well, but the speed is really coming to punish them, and that's what you get for picking, you pick Dwarves on this big open map. So they have a really, really hard time traversing the territory very quickly. Snipe on the caster does come through. He's crumbling away, but again, he's 600 gold. It's not a huge win for the Dwarves, and most of the spells have probably been cast, and most as well has probably been used. Back cap is coming in. 3-cap is in full force for the Tomb Kings. The middle objective has been lost, but now you have a big conundrum as the Dwarves. Do you go take objective 1? Do you go take objective 3? You gotta take both, and you only have so many units. So honestly, you probably take everything on objective 2 if you're me. I take everything here and just slam it this direction, and then all my reinforcements go to 3. But I don't think it's going to be enough. He's only got to hold... Tomb Kings will have to hold for another about 2 minutes. And none of the Dwarf reinforcements are anywhere near objective 1. And Tomb Kings can just keep spamming out bodies this direction. And keep threatening objective 2. 1 skeleton on this objective means all that hero blob or a full unit of Dwarf Warriors have to stay there. This tattered unit ain't going to outcap them. So it's a big problem. And now there's a Khemrian War Sphinx. A Khemrian War Sphinx summoned this late in the game. I mean, the Terror Source is amazing, but for the damage, you want to actually pay for itself a lot sooner. He must have been supply cap or something. But he does a very, very good job terror routing. He's very, very valuable at this point in the game. And honestly, I'd probably just take him and go charge all of these units that are coming to reinforce. They're very low health. They'll tear out very easily. I definitely like that choice, but with only 40 points to go, 2 objectives still in the hands of the Tomb Kings, I think Dwarves are, in fact, out of this one, and I do believe Housecat will be taking our tournament, showing his expertise on his main of the Tomb Kings. And there we go. Housecat's Tomb Kings prevail, and he does win our tournament for the day. GG, well played to our players. I'll let Hero Blob do. I really am not a fan of these Dwarven Hero Blobs. Like, you need the width as Dwarves. You need to be everywhere at once, and Hero Blobs don't help you do that. And Thoric usually isn't under that much pressure. One of these cannons got shut down hard. One did okay. Longbeards got shredded by the catapults. Slayers did okay. Dwarf Warriors, yeah, a lot of them are just getting torn apart by the artillery. Last Church did okay. And yeah, look, like I said, just as much armor as possible. Kalita got 1,000 value. I need to check how much she cost. Catapults paid for themselves. Skeletons, you know, they held space, which is kind of their job. Sphinx, the last second Sphinx summon was kind of surprising to me. Usually with a unit that expensive, it takes time to accrue its value, so you summon it early, so it has time to do that, but the last second summon was kind of funny to me. Yeah, that was a lot about just slowing dwarves down, wearing them out. It's a massive battle of attrition. How much did Kalita cost? 1,700. Okay. But, yeah, it's a very, very slow matchup. And just the dwarves' speed proved too much of an obstacle for them today. And as I said, that will be Housecat taking our tournament for the day. Which means that's all I got for you folks. Thanks so much for